Clutch Trucker is filmed before a live studio audience. Right, Rusty? Hello? Hello? Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Clutch Trucker channel. Got an interesting topic today. One, really, I'm surprised there's not more videos about for truckers. And I have actually never Googled it or searched it, but there might be. And that is cell phone service for truckers. What's the best one? Okay, well, let me tell you straight up, in the about 10 years I've been doing trucking, I have had various carriers. I've had Verizon. I am now on T-Mobile. I've had, I think I tried that Straight Talk for a little while. I'm back, hey, remember when there was Net 10? Remember that one? That prepaid one? I had that for a while. I had another prepaid one for a while. I was on Verizon's prepaid for a while. I had Union Wireless. If you've never heard of that, there's a good reason for that. They're a Wyoming local wireless phone company. And when I bought my new phone, the one I have now, which was, 3 or 4 years ago at this point, it's an iPhone 6XS or 6S. It's the big one. Anyway, it's the bigger one. I want a bigger phone. Anyway, I got that from Union Wireless, and but their service was terrible. And they kept saying, hey, we have nationwide service. Hey, yes, you'll have service all over the place. Blah. No. Their service was terrible. Wherever their service, which was most of the rest of the country, fell out, they would have to partner with everybody else, like AT&T, Iowa Wireless, holy crapazoid. Do they blow cheese? Anyway, put up with them for like 6-7 months, and then finally went to T-Mobile. T-Mobile has gotten much better over the past few years. I will give them that. They're putting in a lot more towers everywhere. They're expanding their service. When I first switched to them, I'd go down into the southeast, like, West Virginia, areas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and it would always switch me to AT&T, and then the data would never work. Now they've got a lot more towers up. They've even put a lot more towers up in Wyoming. I got to give them props for that, all right? Last couple of times driving across I-80, probably about, I'd say, 35 to 40% of it is now actually on a T-Mobile tower, as opposed to switching to that Union, or as I call them, Onion Wireless, because they stink. Still got to put up with it for part of the way. At least I can usually still make a call. Whenever it switches me to the Union Wireless, I can't use my data. Still, sometimes when it switches me to AT&T, I can't use the data. That's with any one of these companies, though. If you go with one of the smaller ones like Cricket or something like that, you're going to have the same deal. They always have to partner with somebody else. So none of them are going to be perfect. I have just found over the years, T-Mobile seems to be, in my opinion, the best one as far as driving anywhere and everywhere, because I go all over the place with Turquoise Trucking, anywhere and everywhere. They seem to be the best for most places, and what I really like about them is their plan. Now, years ago, when I had Verizon, what I always got so mad about Verizon was this was back in the day when they always loved to get you into that contract. And I always hated being in that contract. And they always had those extra taxes and fees that they never told you about. And you get the bill and you're like, oh, it was always so much higher than you expected. So I started going with the prepaid plans. Like I say, I did that Net 10. There was another one I can't remember the name of. I'm sure those are both gone now. I think the only prepaid plan that still really exists is that Straight Talk through Walmart. I know my buddy Jim, he uses that. He actually has some pretty good service. They usually use, I think for the most part, Verizon towers. But I went with a prepaid one straight through Verizon after having bad experience with Net 10 and that other one I can't remember the name of. And I still had huge holes. I'd go into Wisconsin, most of the state, no service. Not only did it not throw me to something else that didn't work very well, no service. Or else a lot of Maryland, a lot of Pennsylvania, no service. Or it'll come up and say, oh, roaming only, and they'd knock you for, what was it, a couple of bucks a minute? Something ridiculous. That's when I just got so sick of Verizon that I went with the T-Mobile. And the reason I went with them is because they were one of the first to do the plans without contracts. Okay, they're owned by Siemens, S-I-E-M-E-N-S, if you've ever heard of them. They're a German electronic manufacturer. They also make trains. They make X-ray machines. They make a lot of stuff. But they're Germans. So, well, you know, at least Germans usually like to drink beer, right? So they can't be too bad. Anyway, so T-Mobile, they have just basic plans. It's, you know, X amount of dollars per month per line. That's it. All taxes and fees included. That's why we went with them, and I switched the whole family over, and it was a great deal. But unfortunately, they don't have the best service in Wyoming. And of course, that's where the rest of my family is. And where my wife works at her job, it always, when she's near the school and everything where she works, it keeps throwing her over to this Union Wireless, the local wireless company, which sucks. And my daughters have the same issue in Laramie, Wyoming. It keeps throwing her over to the Union Wireless. And so they've been looking into other options. About the only other option, unfortunately, in Wyoming is Verizon Wireless. So they're now going to be switching everybody back to that. You know, and that's what you got to do. If you're mainly staying in one little area, you got to find the best service for that area. Outside of that, though, for truck drivers, I've found in all my travels, T-Mobile seems to have the best service everywhere else in the country. I've been happiest with their plans, and like I say, their plans, it's all included. If they say $60 a month, it's $60 a month. No extra taxes, no extra fees. We're not going to sneak all of this crap in there. That's what I really like about T-Mobile. But now that the rest of my family is going to be switching away, now, of course, my plan goes up from where I was paying about $36 a line. If it'll be just me, that's $70 a line, but that's still unlimited. You know, calls, data, text, everything. That's still not a bad deal. And like I say, drivers, I found overall that T-Mobile is actually pretty decent, and they're adding more towers everywhere. I've noticed in the few years I've had them, places where I didn't have T-Mobile before and it switched to a different carrier. It used to throw me to Iowa Wireless all the time in Iowa, which was terrible, because Iowa Wireless, like Union Wireless in Wyoming, sucks, and you'd have no data. Then about 2 years ago, from Des Moines to the state line of Illinois, T-Mobile had their own towers. Now I've noticed, just in the past year, from Omaha to Des Moines, now most of that stretch is now covered by T-Mobile towers. So they are improving, and I do have to give them some props for that. So that's where I say, overall, for truck drivers, your best bet, in my opinion, is T-Mobile. I also have a cell phone boost antenna. I'll tell you about that. Okay, I did buy, it was almost 3 years ago at this point, the WeBoost cell phone antenna booster, and I tell you, it's been a very good thing, okay? Because I have to drive a lot of times in places like where I live, like Wyoming, where there's just hardly any signal at all. And so the WeBoost, I have a picture of it, I can show you right here. Okay, so what it comes with is an antenna, and if you have like the poles to hold your mirror on like I have, it's a lot easier to mount. Otherwise you have to get a little creative with it, but it's kind of like putting up an extra Sirius XM antenna or something like that. But then it takes that, it runs inside your cab through the antenna line, and it has a booster that you plug in to your 12-volt adapter, and that boosts that signal. And then you put the little internal antenna like right on your dash or somewhere near your phone, and you always have a little bit better signal. So you have a lot less dropped calls. And after I bought that, I can tell you my calls were dropping a lot less. My calls stay connected probably 60 to 70% more of the time than they used to. It's expensive, it's pricey, $500 for the OTR version, for the truck version. But for all the time that my wife got so mad and would be screaming at me and everything else because the calls kept dropping, that was worth that $500, baby. Also, if you're talking to clients or brokers and the calls keep dropping, it's worth it, okay? So kind of look at that as an over-the-time expense, but that WeBoost, I would say, is a good option for truck drivers. Okay, so I hope that gives you some information. Like I say, that WeBoost antenna, I've had it for about 3 years now, and it has definitely helped the dropped call situation. Also, it tends to give me better data, maybe in places where I only had a little bit before. So I do recommend that. There's an internal box. If you can look on that picture again, I'll show you right now. Okay, you can see on the box there's the antenna. There's that little kind of square or rectangular box. I stick that right underneath my dash shelf, so I don't even see it. It's out of sight. Okay, right here is my dash shelf, and it's actually underneath. I don't even think you can see anything down there. No, not really. But it's underneath there. I don't even see it. And then over here on the side, I do have connected my 12-volt adapter thing, and it's this front adapter plug-in right here. All right, that one right there. So I can turn it off and on, and I leave that plugged in at all times. So that's where it is in my truck. So I don't even really see it. And the internal antenna is, let's see, I get my bearings around here. Okay, this little, you can hardly see it. I'll get some light on it. There it is. That's the internal antenna. Okay, it's just mounted on my dash. My phone mount, as you can see right here, so my phone sits right in front of that antenna coming in where the signal is boosted. So like I say, it's been a big help for me. I definitely say, yeah, the calls aren't dropping near as much as they used to. All right, so consider that if you're having issues. And like I say, overall, I found T-Mobile to be, in most parts of the country, the best cell service for truckers, and I like their package plans. All taxes and fees are included. If you're just doing a single plan, going to cost you about $70 a month. If you can throw other people in your family on it, you can drop that down to as low as like $36 to $40 a month for per line. Not a bad deal. All right, hope this helps out. As always, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. Would like to kick that up a little bit if we can. Ring the bell, comment if you would like to. Sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. As always, clutch out.